Hello, students. A couple of you were asking about how to graph based on making a table rather than using any of our shortcuts. And I want to remind you that making a table is always a safe way that will make a graph. Sometimes it's not very efficient. You have to do a lot of calculations, but it always works. A graph is really just a picture of the numbers from the table. So let's look at a quick example. Let's just say we have y equals x squared plus 5. I'll just throw some numbers in there. If you don't know where to start, a good idea is just to count by ones. And because we're doing quadratics, it's good in general also, but especially with quadratics, you want to do some negative numbers, you want to do some positive numbers. So you're going to go through the calculations. Negative 3 squared plus 5. I'm just going to set them all up. See how all I'm doing is replacing the letter x with the number in the x column. And then I'm going to go back through and calculate these, and I hope you notice a nice pattern between them. So the first one, negative 3 squared is 9, so I have 9 plus 5. Negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 1 squared is 1. 0 squared is 0. Notice that the plus 5 is the same every time. And I hope you notice a pattern as I'm going through these. This is what gives those quadratics a nice shape, is that the negatives square to equal the same as the positives. That's why it goes up on both sides of the vertex. 9 plus 5 is 14. 4 plus 5 is 9. 1 plus 5 is 6. And then you see the numbers start coming back up on the other side of the vertex. When I go back through and I try to draw a graph of this is not going to be a perfect graph because it's just on the whiteboard, but we've got really high, still kind of high, coming down, vertex, back up symmetrically on the other side, like that. That's one example. I hope that's helpful. I'll do one more example with another type of equation that's maybe a little trickier for people, but this is kind of a more basic example. Here's another one. Let's say I had something like this. Y equals x squared plus 3x minus 1. Same sort of process. Making a table works every time. It just is sometimes kind of boring. And it sometimes takes a long time. Notice that what I'm doing is plugging the x value in wherever I see the letter x in the equation. So when I see x squared, I write the number. When I say 3x, I write the number. So we have 0 squared plus 3 times 0 minus 1. 1 squared plus 3 times 1 minus 1. 2 squared plus 3 times 2 minus 1. 3 squared plus 3 times 3 minus 1. Notice that the constants are staying the same. The 3 and the minus 1 are the same in every single line of this table. It's the x, the variable, that changes. That's why we call it a variable. I'm going to go through and make some calculations here. You don't need to be as fast as I am. I just don't want to have this be a 10-minute video. So I'm talking and I'm writing fast. You can use a calculator as you go through these. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, negative 3 squared, 3 times negative 3, minus 1. Negative 2 squared, 3 times negative 2, minus 1. Negative 1 squared, 3 times negative 1, minus 1. 0 squared, 3 times 0, minus 1. 1 squared, 3 times 1, minus 1. 2 squared, 3 times 2, minus 1. 3 squared, 3 times 3, minus 1. Now, what I hope you notice here is that it switched from being the first number minus the second number to being the first number plus the second number. And that is because we switched from negative x's to positive x's. Let's get some final answers here. This is going to be negative 1. This will be negative 3. This is also going to be negative 3. This is going to be negative 1. This is going to be positive 3. This is going to be 9, and this is going to be 17. I'm going to draw a quick graph of this. It's not going to be perfect, but 3 steps to the left is at -1. 2 steps to the left is at -3. So here's like -1, 2, 3. Then we're at -3 again. Then we're at -1 again. Then we're already up here at +3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to get off the graph. So we actually have here a nice parabola. Oops, I kind of missed it there. Something like that. There we go. Nice parabola. You can graph any equation by plugging in x values and getting the y values. Okay, so that is a couple examples of graphing by making a table. Doesn't matter what form your equation is in, doesn't matter how complicated your equation is, you can always graph it by plugging in x values and getting the y values.